It's like obvious that somebody's being bullied and you guys are being silent. So it's about weak characters again,
Hmm.
because a lot of these people in these positions, they just wanted the salary, unfortunately. And a lot of politicians are like that. Not all of them. I think a lot of other politicians have some personal values. They want to help the world, but a lot of them are there for the money, the easy job. And when they put something up to vote and nobody, um what's the word, appeals,
Hmm.
is that the word,
Yeah,
and then it's approved.
yeah. There was no objection.
Yeah, it just shows you that a bunch of cowards are sitting in one room signing papers, getting their money. And I don't even know what the UN does, honestly. Like, what has the
They don't
UN
do anything.
done?
They're a completely useless organization. They haven't done anything in years. They should be abolished. That's why I said abolish the UN. Like they should not even exist anymore. They don't do anything. Like they were created initially to stop another world war from happening and to protect Israel literally in their mission statement to protect the Jewish people from anti-Semitism. They've done the exact opposite of that. They now are the number one perpetuator of anti-Semitism. And now they violate all human rights throughout the whole world. And what just happened is it's absolutely insane to me. Like, I mean, I've heard the stories before in the past of them doing that, but I thought maybe, the idea that maybe they just think that people are stupid and they're not paying attention, and they could get away with that. But when you see them do it, when the whole world is watching and it's being told what's going on, like that's a new level of like brash. Like that was really brash, and I wonder if the Islamic regime, like you said, lobbying, I wonder it's possible maybe that there was some sort of talk between the two of them, almost to maybe break the spirits of the people in the revolution. Like, look, even the UN doesn't have your back. You really think anyone's coming to save you? The UN doesn't even have your back.
Yeah, Iran's regime is a pro in doing that.
Mm.
We've had lobbyist groups in USA, in Canada. You've heard of NIAC, and there's a ICC here, Iranian Canadian Council, which we've been trying to expose for so many years. I can send you some resources
I
on that.
just heard
But
about them now.
these, oh yeah, so these people wear suits and ties. Women are hijabless and they wear the dresses, and they go out there and try to apologize on behalf of the regime and say that this is, yeah, it's just a domestic issue. It's because of the economy. People are this or that, and they just try to cover it up, cover it up. That's what they're getting paid to do directly. And in our opinion, those are the biggest traitors to the Iranian people, because every time that we wanted to show the atrocities that are happening, they try to cover it up with these interviews that they get in the big news channels that I never get to talk in,
Mm-hmm.
and they just give a bunch of lies on behalf of the regime to just buy more time, to say, hey, we're working on it. Like, there's a lot of hope, there's a lot of progress happening. I don't know if you saw this recent Christian Amanpour clip coming out where um a politician from Iran tells her that we are about to allow women to go to the football stadium as of this year,
Mm.
as if this is like a huge accomplishment.
Wow.
And Christian Amanpour is like, wow, that's progress. This is a British
Mm-hmm.
journalist from BBC, I think. Don't quote me on
Probably.
that, and we're like, what are you talking about? A woman who is married cannot exit the country without her husband's permission. Do you know how much abuse that creates? They
Mm.
get locked up, their children get taken away. A woman can be beaten up by her husband, basically, because it's all in the Islamic Sharia law. That's why we never get married anymore. But you need your father's permission if you're a woman to like go abroad. Your inheritance is half of a man's inheritance. As a witness in court, you need two women for every one man.
Mm-hmm.
This is like so blunt,
Mm.
right? That you're half of a man.
Yeah.
So they never talk about this stuff. They just make it seem like we're getting better, and nothing's getting better. We've only been getting worse.
Mm.
Yeah, that those are the real enemies of the Iranian people, you know?
Yeah. I just started hearing about that group inside Canada. I forget what you said in it, like the ICC or something like that. I just started hearing about
Yeah.
them, yeah, from Goldie Gamari because she's in Canada. She talks about them a lot. And yeah, but the diaspora in Canada, man, they've really been going hard. Like she's got that petition signed, and now the foreign minister of Canada just said that they will not ever be diplomatic with them, the Iran, ever again unless there's a regime change. So that's a powerful statement. What do you think about that?
I definitely appreciate Goldie's work so much. She's a
Mm.
powerhouse and she's really giving us all so much strength and power to move forward and do things that we couldn't really think of. You know, she's an ex-politician, so she's experienced in that. You know, Iran never hasn't had an embassy here in Canada for many years now. And on paper, yeah, it's nice to say that we don't have any relations, but they do stuff behind the scenes. We see these commanders and like top leaders coming here with their families. They bring in huge amounts of money. Whereas if I have $10,000, more than $10,000, I have to report it, right? How are they bringing millions of dollars that they've stolen? Because there's one guy, Khabari, if you search him up, he stole the bank's money, the national bank's money, basically people's money, and he lives here now. So I know that they will, they might still be able to keep their relationships behind the scenes. So that's not going to help us free Iran, you know?
Mm.
We need full support of the diaspora's voice, and we are very clear about Reza Pahlavi being our representative. And we need countries to acknowledge that. This might not be the most diplomatic way, or it might have to cross over the bureaucratic processes, but this is what needs to happen in order for that result
Mm-hmm.
to happen. You know what I mean? Because what's that gonna do? Like, no more relationships with Iran yet. They don't care. They're still gonna keep killing people. They never really had relationships with Canada, anyways.
Mm. So
I don't know.
do you feel like what is your take on um the regime in Canada? Are you a fan of them or no?
Oh, right now, no,
Mm.
definitely not. Like, Justin Trudeau messed everything up. Now, Mark Carney's just continuing that, and they're just trying to be so politically correct and basically fancy words, I mean. Um, and the Canadians, I guess they voted for that. So it's been tough.
Yeah.
These past few years in Canada has been really tough. But we do have a lot of conservatives on our side
Mm-hmm.
consistently. You know, when you see an MP show up for you year after year after year, it's heartwarming to see that they stand for something. But there's a lot of internal conflict here in Canada as well. Like, because the dynamic is changing all the time. There's a lot of immigrants that have been suddenly injected into the society, into the economy, and we're not all experienced as a nation to navigate through this. I haven't seen Carney talk about this much.
Really?
Yeah, he did condemn it. He did condemn the killings and the murders, but at the end of the day, I don't see him standing up really for the people of Iran. I saw Doug Ford. A bunch of politicians have showed up in this recent rally, which was yesterday, right? And there's signs of hope. That's all I can say.
And the former son of the Shah, I have not heard anybody at all that I've talked to personally that has mentioned any other leader at all. And on social media, like in the comment section, when anybody ever talks, it's 90% him. And then the other 10%, 5% of them are just saying it's Zionist propaganda. And the other 5% throw out something about how they don't want America to influence politics and that he would be some sort of puppet or something. But the overwhelming majority, he's the only name that I've ever heard before. So I think it does need to be acknowledged that that's the only name that the Iranian people have ever talked about. I went and I looked because I'm a deep researcher, so I try my best to make sure that I hear all sides of the story. And I deep researched as many groups of people as I could find, and I could not find any serious people that disagreed with him being the transition leader for the country. I've heard, like little weird pockets of people like the MEK, but then everybody tells me the MEK, they're half communist, half Islamist, and they're like a cult or something like that. So I haven't, I think it's really important that people acknowledge that that's who the people in the country chose, because people are going to try to twist and turn the narrative to if he does take over in Iran, they're going to say this was put here by Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu to try and manipulate the Middle East. But it needs to be known that it's been screamed from the rooftops by the people themselves. That's who they chose.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I think the military intervention that Trump promised has been delayed is because I think we all need to get to that point where we're just like so desperate for the intervention so that the world doesn't blame America for for making this change, and we say, "Hey, we wanted it." And that's what we're trying to say. That was my little sign yesterday, that we need military backup for Reza Pahlavi because he can't do it on his own. And the thing is, when they talk about internal reform in Iran, the last Shah of Iran was Pahlavi. So if we're gonna fix this from the inside out, we need Pahlavi to continue where we left off, because this Islamic mafia was never from Iran. They hijacked the revolution. This wasn't even Iranian lifestyle. It wasn't Iranian ideology, but our people were naive and they wanted better change, right? They wanted positive change. So they went out in the streets and these guys hijacked the country. They partnered with the communists and the everybody else who was involved in the revolution, but then they started executing them as soon as they got into power. They got all the guns and the weapons and they started oppressing people, and people were so traumatized for years that they thought it'll get better. It's going to get better. It just got worse. So if we're going to do this internally, we need to pick it up where we left off, which was Pahlavi. And any country you look at 50, 60 years ago, they weren't perfect. Their laws weren't perfect. So why do we expect the Shah to have been perfect? But you look at his son now in 2026, this guy, his hands are clean. That's like the most important thing for us. He's not a murderer, never murdered anyone for his cause, which is a big cause, right? It's very important. He's educated, he is democratic. Just watch his interviews and his press conferences. And he's backed up by the former queen of Iran, right? His mom is alive, which who I really deeply respect. She's done so many great things for women in Iran. I just think it's so obvious that he is the only option. If there was anybody else who was as brave as him and wanted to take leadership, I would have listened to them as well. For example, we had some victims in the plane crash that happened. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
The families of the victims. We, for a second, like for a few months, we thought that one of these guys is going to become a leader because he wants to avenge for his family, right? But they didn't. They were too traumatized, they were too tired, and they lacked the education. This guy has been trained since he was a little boy about politics. He is a military pilot. Um, he knows what he's doing, you know? So that's why I see a lot of hope, and I just I just hope that it happens.
Yeah, that's true. He is his whole family is from a royal bloodline. Like he's not going to have any trouble understanding how to take over a country and lead it. And that also goes into why that's one of the unique things about the situation there is most countries when they go into a revolution they do not have anybody to they have no certain path forward and it creates power vacuums a lot of the time but there is that's not present here. There's a very stable option to go, and like you said, they hijacked the revolution and they worked with the communists and all that. And that is so true, isn't it? And, you know, when I hear about the Shah, people talk about like some of the negative things they did. It's like, well, you know, everybody does something that people don't like. That's just like you said, everybody's a human being. Like, you're never going to have a leader that doesn't have something where you're like, well, I wish they would have fine tuned this a certain direction. But that's a lot different than having Adolf Hitler and the Ayatollah in power. That's a completely different thing. And when I look at the Shah, at least from what I know so far, my limited knowledge of Iranian history, it doesn't appear that he was a super oppressive guy either. When they say that he dissented against certain people, those mostly seem to be mullahs and communists, the very people that have proven why he would have not wanted them to be in power in the first place. So it makes perfect sense to me. I don't understand why there would be any other direction. I know they say the MEK is not as big as it used to be, but I've also heard that they're trying to make some kind of weird slip in there. And the thought has crossed my mind a couple times, and now I'm hearing other people say it too, where people need to watch for his protection because they might try to take him out. Do you ever think about that?
Oh yeah. I pray for that man every day
Really?
that God protects him. I mean, like I said, if this doesn't work, we're gonna find another way. But Reza Pahlavi is a very important figure right now in the results of this revolution, you know? He does have his daughters. I'm not sure if they're as trained or educated, but we need to protect this man. And that's why I'm at a phase where I'm collecting donations. He does have a portal where you can support his campaign, and because you have to put yourself in his shoes. It's like this stuff is expensive, and building a whole country is gonna be expensive. And when you put your faith in a leader, you gotta support him all the way. Uh, and the funny thing is, the MEK, we make fun of them because they're just so persistent. Like, they're always around. But they've never been able to communicate themselves with us. You know, they have this weird, as you said, like a cult. They wear the same uniforms. They have the full on hijab, and then they have communist ideologies. It's funny to me that they think they can win the hearts of Iranians with full on hijab. Like,
Yeah.
can't you see what we've been through?
Mm.
And they're a little bit out of date, and I don't see them as a threat or even competition. It's like, okay, you guys can say whatever you want. But there's been a lot of missions that they've had where they assassinated people, or um they've had their hands bloody. So that's a no-no for us, you know. You don't get to kill anybody for your ideology, innocent people, I mean. But after the revolution, they did a lot of operations here and there. I can't name them exactly right now, but we can definitely do another search on this. But what really is precious about Reza Pahlavi is that he is doing it the civilized way, and his communication is so strong, and you just go on his Instagram and you can see him answer every possible question that could come up to anybody's mind. He's not afraid to be questioned. And he is an Iranian, you know, he wants Iran to be great again. He wants us to go back to our roots. And that matters to our people, you know. We don't want another Muslim, even if it's a woman, to be our leader.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big, that's what the nations of the world and people that dissent against military intervention have to understand as well. That it's not because they mention Iraq and they mention Syria and they mention so many things. All of those people are were filled to the brim with Islam. The majority of the populations were always Muslim. And when you were getting rid of those regime people, you're getting rid of Saddam Hussein and all these people, the only people that were ever the option to back it up were also radical Islam jihadists. And it's always been that way every single time. And as a result of that, people say, well, like I heard Senator Rand Paul from the United States say, well, Trump should not do military intervention because if he bombs them, then the people inside the country are going to see an outside threat and they're going to join the regime to rebel against this outside threat. And I'm like, look, that is so asinine for you to even say that. It is so out of touch with the people in the country for you to say that, because this is not Iraq. It is not a 99% Muslim country that has a regime that they're a little bit upset with because of some money problems, and they want to replace it but they don't want to get rid of Islam, though. They want to bring another radical Islamic jihadist regime that maybe just does their trade routes a little bit differently. And if you attack, then they're going to say, well, it's time to kill the infidels. The people in Iran are majority not Muslim. And out of the 75,000 mosques, 50,000 of them have been shut down. One recent poll said that they're less than 20% Muslim. They have all sorts they come from various degrees of religions and beliefs and peoples. They don't even speak Arabic. They speak Farsi. They speak Persian. And so this is not some kind of, we want to get rid of this radical Islamic regime to replace it with another one. This is, we ourselves want to shut out radical Islam from being in charge of the country as much as the West would want to. That's what has to be understood, because when you understand that, that eliminates all that fear mongering of this is going to turn into ISIS takes over Iraq, the Taliban takes over Afghanistan. is, you know what I mean? And all these ideas from like what Rand Paul said, which I don't even know if he believes that or not, or if he's just really that out of touch with the people there. But people have to hear what the people are saying because they've been deceived for so long into thinking that everybody inside of Iran is a super hardcore burqa wearing jihadi Allah Akbar terrorist. Like that's what they've thought.
Yeah. I think they have to stop generalizing everything and saying, hey, look at what happened with Iraq, look at what happened with Syria, whatever, because every situation is unique.
Mm-hmm.
We're co-creating this life on Earth. If it's never happened before, we're going to make it happen. And when we start giving these examples and just dismissing, the solution, it's unfair. Nothing about us is the same as Iraq or Syria. We have totally different background, infrastructure, and culture. Um, and at the end of the day, do we want to eliminate ISIS, or we just want to leave Middle East as this little sewage where all the horrors are happening there?
Mm-hmm.
We take all the good ones out, bring them here, and we pretend like we're good people, and they're left with the ISIS. ISIS is right now in Iran.
Uh-huh.
So how much worse can it get? They're bringing foreigners in to beat the people
Uh-huh.
because they don't have enough forces. So we see these videos of people speaking Arabic, or they don't even look like Iranians because we can tell if they're actually Iranian at the city or not. So they're training these people from other parts of the Middle East, paying them just like that cyber army that I just gave you an example of. And the worst is already happening. It can't get any worse than that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It really can't. I mean, this is pretty much rock bottom. It's the darkest of the dark. Like the only way forward is up. And so you talked about that cyber army, and they went after you when you said you went viral, right?
Yeah, I got a lot of comments. Um, yeah, they're always there. And they just want to make fun of you or undermine you or just trigger you sometimes
Hmm.
just to get some rage bait. Something I realized that was pretty dark again was these profiles of these Islamic regime supporters who were openly gay on Instagram. Now, I am okay like with anybody having any type of relationship, right? But when you're an Islamic Republic supporter and you are openly gay while gays are being executed in Iran, and it just shows me that you hate women to the extent that you only use them for reproduction, and you would rather also make love to a man. So I went through a lot of dark days these past few weeks, and I was like, how could you want that kind of freedom for yourself, but oppress a whole nation? It just seems so unfair. They get whatever they want in their lives and have zero sympathy for the rest of us. It's evil.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point too. That's what the far left has become. The far left has become, we get everything that we want in life. We get everything. We have the permission and the permissible, and we make it legal to do anything that we personally want. But everybody else could even dreams about something that they want to happen, and we crush it and stomp it out. Like that's exactly what it feels like. It's really strange, really. And especially like LGBTQ supporting the Islamic regime in Iran. Do you even know what they do to homosexual people inside of Iran? They throw them off of cliffs. They're the most anti-homosexual group on the entire planet. I don't think that there's anybody that persecutes homosexuality more than radical Islam. Like, I don't understand. Is that, what is that? Is that's an education issue? They don't know that they do that?
I think so. Yeah. They just don't believe it. They don't believe how messed up other countries could be. I was talking to someone a few months ago, and he was defending the Iranian regime, saying, I was thinking they're people too. They probably have their own culture. And I was like, wait a second. Who are you talking about? Like the people of Iran or the Islamic government, the Iranian government? Because it's two totally different things. Like, yeah, Iranian people, they're so sweet and welcoming and hospitable, generous. You talking about the Iranian government? They're not the same. You, as an American, have absolutely no rights as a human there. So even in the airport, they could just grab you, take you to a dungeon, and we'll never hear about you ever again. Now, the Americans have fallen off the other side so much that I hear people saying, hey, why can't we have a Muslim mayor, etc.? Why can't they become president here? And I'm like, wait, you guys can't even walk in our country yet.
Mm-hmm.
You want an immigrant to become president? Like, why is it not reciprocal yet?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, exactly that.
So it's my job to say it as an Iranian that we're not there yet as the whole earth.
Mm,
We need to take everything step by step. You guys are taking all of these immigrants. What are those nations doing? Are they taking yours? No. You've always had Iran on the travel ban list, right? Your government says don't go there because we can't protect you if you
mm-hmm.
go there. How how many Canadian citizens have been detained in Iran, marked as a spy, tortured, and just many years of their lives were wasted away? I think we need to start taking this seriously and say, hey, we come one step closer to you. Now it's your turn to come closer to us.
Mm,
And if we did that from the start, we would be in a much better place today. But unfortunately, just because of those agendas and collecting people's votes and giving some fancy promise, they've tried to people please all of these
mm,
immigrants. And now the immigrants are even ungrateful for the lives that they're living in the West, in these first world countries, to the extent that they're becoming violent or saying death to America, death to Canada. And we're like, what are you talking
mm,
about? Why are you here in the first
mm-hmm.
place?
And like you were saying, they want Muslim mayors, like in New York City. Like, I was just watching this video literally today from Dearborn, Michigan, and they have a Muslim mayor there. And there was a guy that went there, a normal everyday citizen, and he goes inside of their city council meeting, and he says to him, they wanted to they're changing the name of a road there to, I forget what it is. It's Osama something or other. I forget the last name, like Soleimani or something. And that guy is known to have backed up Hezbollah and Hamas. He's known to be a supporter of them. And this guy asks him, and I actually got the video, I'm going to put that on social media later, where he talks to him and he says, This is why I'm rebelling against this. And the mayor looks at him, Muslim mayor, and says in front of everybody, you are a racist, you are an Islamophobic, and this city will have a celebration in the streets the day that I get to see you move out of this city and never come back. And I'm like, how could you say that in the United States of America, in an American city? He just said that to an American citizen because he wants to name the street after someone who supports Hezbollah and Hamas, and he was against it. I mean, that's like something you would see inside of Islamic Iranian regime. Like, that's what it looks like. Like, that is insane to me. And that's the United States. I mean, because it's only progressing. It's only getting worse. We knew that there were Muslim candidates that were taking over. And regardless of what anyone says, the truth behind these Muslim candidates is that they're completely paid for by the Muslim Brotherhood. They're completely funded by radical terrorist organizations to infiltrate. You listen to the Muslim Brotherhood, they say it's by bullet or by ballot. And they have an entire blueprint of their agenda, which you can find online, where you can read it, and it says this is what we do. We go in and we circumnavigate, we indoctrinate the people through the education system, and we get them to vote. And once we get into power, we start to do this, we start to do this. They have a whole plan, a 100-year plan to take out the West. And they say outspokenly, we love this mayor in New York City because this mayor is what we need to promote jihad. And we used to say that voting was haram, but now we say it's our jihad because this is how you take over everything. And they're saying all this outspokenly to people's faces. Then, even though you got that problem, you still have this people in America and in the West and these leftists that say, well, you're looking at the radical version of Islam, and these people that got voted in, they are not like that. They are this calmed down version of Islam. But then you see Dearborn, Michigan, naming the street after someone who supports Hezbollah and Hamas, telling a citizen that he's a fool. And we're going to celebrate the day that you leave because I'm a Muslim mayor and you're an Islamophobic. And it proves that that's a lie. Not to mention the Muslim Brotherhood endorsing these exact names of these candidates by name to the whole world. And you see that in Islam, you have the right to lie about what you believe. You have the right to say, I love the transgenders, I love the Jews, I love the homosexuals, I love everybody, as long as in the end it can promote Islam, right? That's true, isn't it?
Yeah, it's called Takia, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, definitely. But yeah. So I don't know what will happen in a democratic country like USA or Canada if they have majority votes. Like, where is there any point where it can be stopped? But there was this interview in some part of Canada where this Muslim guy's like, yeah, you know what? We're making all the babies and you're not. So one day we're gonna outvote you and we're gonna bring Sharia law here. Now that guy was super naive to be saying that in front of a camera.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly how they think. That's the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where the Constitution is going to stop them, but the American people, like I've seen in my followers, because I used to do music on my Instagram, it wasn't about politics. My musician friends, they were advocating for Mamdani. My American friends, the musicians, the rock and roll spirit. Like,
Yeah,
what?
for sure.
And if you think that they're not the extremist Muslims and they're so moderate, my question is, why do these Muslims never stand up for what is right? Which is, right now in Iran,
Mm.
people are being massacred. If that is not true Islam, then you, as the true Muslim, should be standing up, defending the innocent people's lives. But what are we seeing? We're seeing Jews speak up, we're seeing Christians speak up.
Mm-hmm.
See, Zoroastrians speak up. No Muslim is speaking up.
Hmm.
So maybe this is actually true Islam.
Hmm. Yeah, that's it right there. That's real. You said it all right there. That's a very good point right there. If this isn't the real Islam, how come no Muslims are speaking up? The whole Free Palestine movement is completely quiet. All of these people that are these Muslim politicians, like New York City, they not one of them has come out and said, "Well, we should overthrow the Ayatollah and we should set the Iranian people free." They don't. It never happens. So yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I mean, people just got to think about that for a minute, because if that's not the real Islam, you would be insulted by the fact that these people are giving you such a bad name all over the TV. They're the reason why people look at you and say, I'm not really sure if I would be comfortable having this person in office because I don't want that to happen. They should be your number one worst nightmare, your number one enemy in the world, because they do more to destroy Islam than any Christian or Jew or European or American or Westerner ever could, and they don't. So that's a really good point, because that's what it is. They're not moderates. They're completely bought and paid off. And so you said your musician friends, right? Because you said you used to put a lot of music on there. And I saw you talking about Billie Eilish on there. So is that the video that you originally went viral off of?
Yeah, that's the most I've been viral. And so yeah, that attracted a lot of views, comments, etc.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting what you had to say about that situation, and that you were inside Iran and you felt like it wasn't fair the way that everything was perpetuated, right? Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said it in the video, I was just another kid with a lot of dreams, a lot of passion. I had a lot of life in me, always, still do. But then I realized, ooh, it's not a fair world. And my hard work is not necessarily going to pay off just because I'm trying my best. There's a lot of other factors in people's success. Um, and for me, it's been a personal battle to just accept that and not be resentful towards life and other people, and just take responsibility that I have to try harder and I have to earn my right to sing, because I wasn't even allowed to have a little show in Iran. Basically, I wanted to make a music video because everything was underground for me, right? Until the age of 25, I lived in Tehran, and I'm pretty rebellious, so everything was underground in secret. I would go to like my vocal teacher's classes in private because I wanted to become a singer. And then when I wanted to make my first music video, nobody would rent a room to us. It was me and my other girlfriend, and everybody would be so afraid. They're like, "Two girls? No, we can't have that happen here." And all I wanted was just a room. I didn't want a fancy stage, nothing. And so what we did was like we secretly rented a room as rehearsal for like some theater play, and we brought in the cameras and we secretly filmed a music video, which I can send to you because I'm so proud of this. And in the middle of the shoot, they opened the door and they're like, "What are you guys doing? You need to stop this
Oh my
right now."
goodness.
And we did stop it. Like we wanted to have more footage, but with whatever we had at that time, we made it happen. And it was just like a symbol of rebellion in my life. And then I came here in Canada. I watched all these celebrities gain success from like age of 13,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
I just got to Canada at 25, so I don't stand a chance competing with Billie
Hmm.
Eilish. I don't have the money to make all that music. I don't even have that equipment. Now I have to go get a job. I have to like do things simultaneously. I don't have a grandma's basement to crash in, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Now, I did all of that. I still made my music. I have like 6 songs out there so far. And then I hear this from Billie Eilish. It's like a stab in the heart.
Mm.
So not only do you not care, not only are you never going to speak up on the women's rights and the women's issues, you don't even have enough education to know what this little short sentence that you just said, what effect it has in the world.
Mm.
Because now you've got all of these young boys and girls watching your TikToks and they're like, oh wow, Billie is so brave. Somebody said it. And I'm like, somebody said what? What are you guys even
Mm-hmm.
talking about? What does this sentence even mean to you? And honestly, there's been a million videos since she said that of people proving to her that she is contradictory. And I think it has also started great conversations on the internet, but it just goes to show that whoever has the platform has enormous power, and power comes with responsibility. I don't care how naive or innocent she might be. I don't know her that well. But when you're up there and you say something like that, it's going to have a domino effect in society. It's going to set us back so much in our rebellion to gain our women's rights
Mm-hmm.
back. Everything is connected. And a lot of people in the comments were saying, oh, what does this have to do with what she said? And maybe I have language barrier. I did my best. But everything has to do with everything because you're actually feeding into the narrative that those elitists want us to believe without actually educating yourself, without ever having a real normal life experience, ever knowing what it is to not be able to pay your rent and still wanting to be a musician,
Mm-hmm.
not being able to put your voice out there. It's like illegal. I would be arrested and maybe even killed in Iran if I persist on singing. They can't even fathom it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they can't imagine that. So it comes from a highly privileged position. And for me, it was a risk to put myself out there because I'm exposing all of my weaknesses and insecurities and my traumas for the whole world to see. But I am so, I've made up my mind like so well on this and what kind of change I want to make in the world that I was like, I'm willing to be that person who gets made fun of because some people were saying, "Oh, you're just jealous because you weren't successful." And I'm willing to take that bullet at the price of sending this message out there. And the beauty of it, Josh, was that when this video went viral, the girls and the boys from Iran with their fake profiles, they said, "Thank you for being our voice." I felt that pain. I'm also really talented, but I felt like I'm suffocating all the time. And it really brought tears to my eyes to see that this was my truth, and all I needed to say, to do was to say it, to just be brave enough to say it. And now I can see that it's resonating with all of these beautiful souls that feel like they're suffocating there.
Mm.
And yeah, it's not fancy, it's not aesthetic, it's not cute for the Hollywood glam life. But our life has never seen glam. We've never seen cute,
Mm.
you know? So maybe it's just fair for her to take some of the backlash now and sit and really think about what her values are. I wonder what she's gonna do next.
Yeah. I like that you said that a lot of people commented back and said they feel the same way. Yeah, that's definitely true because I think that is really hard for people outside of those kind of situations to really think about. Because as hard as it is to become super famous or whatever it is around here, I mean, in a place like that where you're not even allowed to have you're not even allowed to be creatively gifted without being in trouble for it. Like that is, that's insane. That's insane. And when you're saying like it's not glamorous or cute or aesthetic, but really that's the essence of art though in itself, isn't it? Because like, yeah, like Hollywood, and once upon a time, I've never hated the culture. I've never been at war with the culture like a lot of people on the right wing are. A lot of people are anti-culture. I've always been very cultural. I like culture. I like music. I like movies. I like all these things. But the truth is that Hollywood was created off of the backbone of what you're talking about. What you're saying is the very beginning of all artistic culture. All artistic culture came from that place. And as a result of it having the ability to say its message to the world, it built a Hollywood and made it become pristine and cute and aesthetic. But all of that was built off of the real, true, authentic version of what people are actually saying and what they're actually going through. So for people not to understand that, those people, you question whether they understand anything about art or creativity or any of that in the first place, because all of that, it comes from a raw emotional place. It's a message that you're trying to project to the
Yeah.
world. So that's really interesting that I just had this other guy too, and he's inside the country and he makes music as well, and he was like showing me this album that he had made. So I definitely want to see some of that music that you created. I want to see the video and everything. And I think that that would be really interesting to hear and see like the underground cultural motives of Iran and the Iranian people as well, because there's got to be a lot of underground culture and art there that the world has no idea about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, most of our life there is underground. That's why we are always afraid of being caught or yeah. So I can send you my music. And but I totally agree with you. I'm so glad that you see that because that's also been something I talk about on YouTube is art, like music used to come from real life experiences, people who were experiencing pain and they were basically music became their therapy. That's how they coped with life. Now we're in such a weird time that all the rich babies, like uh, the ones that have the most funds, become the superstars. So it's like you have to be promoted when you're 11 or like 12 or come from some kind of Disney show. And even in the modeling industry, it's become like that. It's not so much about the talent. That's my opinion. Maybe I'm biased, but I can see it, and that's why the quality of music is like it's so hard to relate to them
Mm-hmm.
anymore because that's not my life. Like I don't know what she's talking about.
Mm.
And that's why I go back to the older music. I'm a little bit old school like that, but I think we all feel it, even in the movies. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's no deep
For
message there.
sure.
There's nothing that moves your soul.
Yeah, I absolutely feel nothing when I watch movies nowadays. And I'm like a big movie guy. Like I love movies, I love stories, I love writing. And when I look at these like movies nowadays, I'm like, what is this? Like what even is this? Like it's the stupidest, most asinine things I've ever seen before in my life. Like you don't even know what to classify it as because it's not even, yeah, there's the remakes and everything, but it's not even just that. It's like there's no real kind of anything that's actually being said about anything whatsoever. And
Yes.
I think
Go ahead.
that, yeah, you're 100% correct about people spreading the message from where they really come from. And you can feel it inside all of the culture. I think, too, that that actually puts creatives in a very weird position in today's society. So, what I mean by that is like, always in the past, it seems to be that for whatever reason, usually creatives wind up on the left side of politics. And I think that's because a lot of creative people are very empathetic and they feel things and they feel people very deeply. And if you go back in the day when the left wing had like John F. Kennedy, that was more of the empathetic place. So people would gravitate towards that. And the right wing has always been very anti cultural, not really big fans of culture. And now, today, the left wing is the creatives still go left wing, but it doesn't feel like it's for the same reasons anymore unless they're highly indoctrinated. It seems more like they've become elites and they're controlled propagandist narratives. But the right wing is still very anti-cultural and still like, what's the point? Why do you even need music? Why do you even need art? And I don't agree with that at all. So it's a weird place for a lot of creatives who are not indoctrinated. There's a real interesting space for those people that doesn't seem like it's being filled.
Yeah, I totally feel that. I think something new needs to be birthed, and that whole structure is decaying. Like, you watch the Grammys, they're giving each other this little statue back and forth, back and forth. It's like Lady Gaga got her ninth Grammy, so there's
Yeah,
nobody else on the surface of this planet that's got anything good, you know?
yeah,
So it's just, when you look at it as a way to make money, and these people are behind huge contracts, and the system has become so big and complicated that art is literally just crushed under
mm,
it. All of those artists aren't happy either. A lot of them are being
mm-hmm.
pushed to generate certain types of music. They don't have freedom of um, expression the way that they want it. So I think that we are on the verge of a new earth. Every old structure needs to be dismantled. A new system will inevitably come. And artists who feel alienated and they don't have a place because of the power of internet, social media, we're gonna find another way. We're gonna create our own communities. And about the left and right thing, I truly think that, like, the shape of the that goes like this. I think that's how the world goes. Like, it's always going to be like this and a little bit over on this side. And it's our job to look at this current situation and see, hey, whose whose side is getting too heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell my friends, I'm like, if I saw that the conservatives were overdoing it, or they were on the wrong side, I would step on the other
Exactly.
side, no doubt. But when we cling on to the identity, and we're at this egotistical battle with our older self, because, like, oh, I can't contradict my older self. Whereas it's your job to be reborn every single day and reevaluate everything. That's when things get rough, and that's when friction happens. If we become nobody, it's like, I'm a nobody. I don't care if I'm cherished or whatever, or if you give me that prize, then everything would be so much smoother, and we would be so far ahead in achieving world peace. That's what I think.
Yeah. And I think that you're right about that as well. And that seems to be the big thing for me. When people, like you said, the way that almost like a DNA strand where it's in and out and it's in and out. And I feel like exactly that. when you are looking at where you stand today, you have to measure it against where everybody is standing right now, not where they were 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 5, 10, 15 years ago. You have to measure it about what it means right now. And it's almost suicide to try to stay aligned with old ideological views just because they were your old ideological views. Like you're becoming a slave to an old system that no longer works anymore. And it's almost like they feel like they're identifying themselves with their values with that old system instead of realizing that like your values aren't changing is why you left the system changed, and that's why you're leaving it, because your values are the same. You know what I mean? You can't get attached to these labels and everything, because I understand that,
Yeah.
because I was a Democrat. I grew up on the left wing. I was always traditionally left wing. I was always there. I supported Obama twice, which is crazy to think about now because I'm not a fan of Obama at all. And it was because I looked at the situation and I took a step back and I said, these people are becoming a bunch of communists. And then not only that, right after that, they're becoming a bunch of jihads. So we have jihadi communists. I can't support jihadi communists. What's insane about that? And then now you're a far right neo-Nazi, and 1 second, and then you're a Zionist the next second. So you're a Zionist Mossad Nazi, and it makes absolutely no sense at all whatsoever. But that's what it is, though. So it's really weird. It's a really weird political dynamic where it feels like all of that organization of right wing and left wing is all just kind of falling apart, and it's meshing into one thing. And there's going to have to be new organizations or new parties or new political spectrums of new things. Things have to be recreated, rebirthed, like you said. There has to be new stuff created that appropriately challenges the way that things are dealt with now. And the past has to be put to past. I mean, it happens all the time. It's happened every couple of 100 years or so. Parties get retired and new parties show up, and that's just the way that it works. And like you said, with Lady Gaga winning her ninth Grammy, like, and nobody else on the earth deserves a Grammy. Yeah, exactly that. Because like nobody's saying, I think what like creatives and like what you're trying to say is, it's not that you're saying that these people that are winning awards or these elites of Hollywood are not talented or not gifted in themselves. It's that everybody else that's just as gifted automatically is dispersed because of they don't fit this check mark, they don't believe this political idea, or they don't fit this specific narrative. It's like if there's 100 super talented people, if 10 of them agree with us politically and 90 don't, that'll be the 10 that win every single time, right?
Yeah, definitely. And also, not everybody gets a chance, right? Because there's no doubt that the spotlight in the world is in America, right? In movies, in music, and everybody looks towards America. And so the people, I think, of the world are kind of hypnotized in the way that they think those are the best of the best.
Mm.
And I don't deny their talent. There definitely is some talent, but you bring in any artist and you give them a team of 10 songwriters, 10 producers, massive budget of marketing, it's gonna be a hit song,
That's a
you
good
know?
point, really.
So when I see people are fooled by it, including myself, maybe one day it was my dream to get to Hollywood, and I thought that's the only way for me to prove I'm successful. Now I'm questioning everything, and I'm like, why do I think that I need to get there when they don't include us. And now it's so clear that they don't care about us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like their little party where, I'm all about having fun and I'm happy for them. But when you guys start getting political and you start to act so righteous as if you know better than the rest of the world, it's like, why am I trying to contribute to that system? So I'm going to go ahead and create my own system for people who have been left out all their lives, like myself. And this is what's important for us to do, really. Otherwise, Hollywood doesn't need another actress like me. Hollywood doesn't need another singer like me to water herself down and try to blend in with like their culture. I told you my life story, right? So my music's gonna be about my life experiences. It might be dark, it might not be dark, but I we all have to just come to this empowered self where we know our own worth, so we're not so hypnotized by these shows that are played, like the halftime show where they all said it was amazing because it was politically correct, but the experience itself wasn't so amazing. It wasn't moving. It wasn't art, you know?
Yeah, that's true. There was nothing that was really said that was emotionally moving. Like, like obviously, the point is that, like, people go back and forth about the halftime show, and obviously the point is the reason why he was selected. And I understand the argument where people say, well, all of his music is in Spanish, so he can't help that he would have to speak Spanish. Okay, but even if you look at it from that perspective, the only reason that whoever is in charge of the halftime show chose him was because they were trying to make a political message. That's the only reason they chose him, regardless of whether or not he can whatever, it doesn't matter. He was chosen because of that. There's a million people that could do the same. They were not chosen because it wasn't a political message. He was chosen only because it was political. And so then you had the dual halftime shows coming from Turning Point USA and Kid Rock, and they got millions of views. And now you have these two dichotomies of people going back and forth about their ideas about both of these halftime shows. But what it really feels like is when, and I didn't really know who Bad Bunny was. I've never really listened to any of his music. I've heard that he's famous. That's about it. But when I looked at the lyrics, what really stood out to me when people were sharing the lyrics and what they meant, I was looking, I'm like, he's not. I mean, it's just normal bubblegum pop, and it's actually really vulgar lyrics. Like, it's not this huge emotional escapade that takes the human soul and leads it to revelations about itself. You know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah. So you feel like that. Do you feel like, on that subject as well, do you feel like they intentionally want music to become, and all art to become, less moving on purpose?
Oh, yeah. You know what I think? They're all about control, like, right? They love it when we do what they predicted we're gonna do. It's a game to them. And the irony of this halftime show is, some Latinos are like, we should be proud that a Latino has been chosen to do the halftime show. What I see through this is actually supremacy.
Hmm.
It's like those elitists allowed a Latino to come up, and now you guys can claim your self worth because we said so.
Hmm.
It's like, did you lack the self worth before Bad Bunny had a show? Did you think lesser of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
It's like such a deep question,
It really
right?
is.
Like the first black president. Did you guys think that black people were lesser than white people? Because we didn't think that.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're puppeteering, is that the word? These masses to tell them, hey, now we're at a point where Black Lives Matter.
Mm.
Now we're at a point where Latinos are included. It's like we all thought that we were one big family
Uh-huh.
before this. Did you guys not think that?
Yeah. That's exactly what it feels like. It feels exactly like that. It's like, no, guys, you weren't as far ahead as you thought you were. The truth is that we determine when you guys get to a point where these groups are included, and you were all really brainwashed into thinking that you guys actually were not as divided and racist and bigoted as you guys thought you were. So let me go ahead and clear this up for you guys and make it look different than it was. I think the connection just got shut off. So I'll give it a few minutes and see if she comes back on. But it's going to shut off right there in the middle of a very deep section, too. Isn't that interesting? Are you back?
I got disconnected for a few seconds.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring happened. And of course, it would happen right there in the middle of saying all that, too. But, anyways, like I was saying, though, it's like it feels like they want you to believe that you guys really were not as united and connected as you were. And we are the ones that are writing this history or narrative of human beings and the world and the human race as a whole. And we decide when you guys have really figured out that you guys are come so far. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, I'm glad you understand me on that.
Yeah. And that's really,
And so,
it's really weird. It's really strange. Because what's the motive behind that? And like another thing too that I notice is like, let's say that Bad Bunny was a conservative